Welcome, everyone, to our first 2025 State of the Industry. And we just thought we would start off on the highest note possible. So we've got a couple announcements, and then we've got what I think is like the best guest ever. So let me roll through these real quick so that we can get to the good stuff. If this is your first State of the Industry, hi, welcome. I am Katie Hardman. I'm your Chief Opportunity Officer for the Experience Brokerage Network. And my partner in crime and all things business is Leslie Hilbert. Leslie, who are you?
Well, I'm Leslie Hilbert. I am the general manager of the Experience Brokerage Network, which, as you know, encompasses 4 amazing Keller Williams market centers in the state of Oregon and almost 600 incredible KW family members.
That's right. That's right. And we always say this because we have new faces in the room. And so this is who has joined us since our last State of the Industry call in December. So welcome. We're glad you guys are here. We are glad that you've joined us, and get ready because we've got a awesome lineup today, and we have already planned out our lineup for the rest of the year. So we are very, very excited to bring you some awesome content. But before we do, we wanted to look back on 2024 and give you a sneak peek. This is just a couple numbers. This is just a couple stats. We are working on a very cool video that you'll be able to share and brag with us. So this is just a brief sneak peek of what you're going to see in that video, but we wanted to share some fun things with you. This is everybody that joined us in 2024, which is very exciting. This encompasses all 4 of our brokerages across the state of Oregon. And I'm not expecting you to be able to see all the names or count that fast. It's 154 new family members across the state of Oregon this year. So when we recognize on a monthly basis, the number looks a lot smaller. So we just wanted to say a huge thank you and welcome. And I hope you're enjoying your time with us and that you're here for a very, very long time. So thank you to the 154 people who trusted us and partnered with us in 2024. We're very excited that you're here. But that's not all. Here's what you did in 2024. So across the network, you guys took 2,451 listings. That was $1.2 billion in listings taken volume. You closed 3,709 transactions for 1.7 billion in volume. And you made $37.8 million. And this doesn't show it, but these numbers are all better than the year before. You increased your listings taken, your closed units, and your GCI from 2023 to 2024, which we know it's a hard market. So congratulations to all of you for these incredible numbers and for just crushing 2024. We're very excited and proud. Okay, couple other things we want to celebrate with you because we know that we've been talking about this the whole 4th quarter. We do a 4th quarter takeover listing challenge, and these are our final numbers. So we're excited to say that we took 371 listings in the 4th quarter across all 4 of our brokerages. That's 144 in Sunset, 101 in Southern Oregon, 77 in Eugene Springfield, and 49 in Capital City. So congratulations to everybody who didn't take the 4th quarter off and went and took market share that you're hopefully reaping the rewards of now. Okay, we also have a leaderboard. So we have actually a lot of names on this because there are a lot of you that went out and took market share in the 4th quarter. And so there's a couple ties. So I am proud to announce that Sophie, Zach, and Nagam tied as the #1 rookies in the network. They all took a listing in the 4th quarter. So congrats to Sophie, Zach, and Nagam. Now for solo agents, we have a 4-way tie. Jeff, Jim, Aubrey, and Stacy all took 8 listings to lead the network as solo agents. Pretty incredible. And now we actually have a new team to the leaderboard. Dennis and Barb Hall out of Southern Oregon, new to Keller Williams, but not new to selling real estate. They took the lead as soon as they got here with 5 listings taken. And that's 2 licensed agents contributing to that number. That's what makes a team. And then in our group category with 22 listings taken in the 4th quarter, the Mary Gilbert Group. So congrats to all of our agents that took listings in the 4th quarter, and a special congratulations to our leaders and our winners of the 4th quarter takeover challenge in the network. You guys really did crush it. Okay, 3 more announcements, and then I promise you we'll get to the good stuff. So one of the things that we did across the network, and you may have noticed, hopefully you noticed because you read your weekly grind from the network, is we switched to a monthly email instead of a weekly. We heard your feedback, and less is more. So we are jam-packing 1 email a month that comes out on the first day of each month with the content. And so if you saw that email on January 1st, you know that all the KWs across the state of Oregon in our network and not in our network have come together to do a 66-day challenge. And if you've been around KW for a little while and have read the one thing, you know that it takes 66 days to create a habit. And so we are challenging everyone to create a good habit in your life or in your business as we start the year. It's a great temporal landmark to start a new habit. So if you are up for the challenge, we encourage you to scan this QR code, which will invite you to the group and the Facebook community where we're posting daily content. You can collaborate with other agents in your market center, in the network, and across KW in Oregon to really start the year with some healthy and good habits for your business and for your life. And I love this quote from James Clear that says, "All big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single, tiny decision." So it doesn't have to be big. It could be a small habit that leads to great things. So join the Facebook community. We will also put the link in the chat for you. And then we are about a month away? A little over a month away from family reunion, and we are rapidly approaching the deadline for the discount. So make sure that if you are interested in signing up for family reunion, that you hurry up and do so before you miss out on the discount. But these are our agents across the network who are already signed up. So we want to say a huge thank you and congratulations on taking the next step to growing and being bigger and better in 2024 or in 2025. Sorry, clearly I'm not used to saying the new year. We will see you in Vegas. And then one last announcement. There was an email that went out yesterday with the wrong link. So we're going to drop the right link in the chat for you for this. If you choose to attend at 11 a.m., Chris and Brendan Bouchard are doing The Future is Your Opportunity, which if you have joined any of these calls in the past, you know that this is a powerful hour. So we highly encourage you to sign up. We will get that link in the chat, and we will see you at 11. Okay. I'm done with announcements. Now, what you are really here for is to see our friend, James, I think you're a friend. I consider you a friend. Also accountability buddy when I was with KWIP. Our friend, James Shaw. So if you've been with KW, you know this person. You know this human. You love this human. If you're new to KW, though, you may not know who James is. So James is the founder of Pivot Shift Ahead, which is a community which includes a Facebook community of over 120,000 agents across the world, I would assume at this point, James, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's also the founder and CEO of your own brand, Inspire Collective. He's KWU Master Faculty. He's been with Keller Williams for over 18 years. He's been an agent on the #1 team in Tampa. He's been a team leader of the most profitable market center in the South Florida region. He's been a regional leader, an OP, a bold coach, a MAPS coach. So he's very qualified to be with us today. And we're honored, James, that you are spending a little bit of time with us and pouring into us about how to start 2025 on the right foot and the things to focus on. You meet and interact with a lot of people and interview a lot of people. So we thought it would be fun to hear your perspective on the right things to be doing right now. So I'm going to give you the stage.
Thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. I'm really proud of you. It's been fun to watch you on your journey.
Thanks, my friend.
So good stuff. No more checking in on how many members did you add to YP while at family reunion. You are doing amazing things, and I'm so proud of you, which is great.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
it's good to see everybody in Oregon. Thank you for having me. I live in Tampa, where it's 53 degrees. We're freezing here in Tampa today. But the exciting news is we now have a nonstop flight from Tampa to Portland every single day. So if I ever come back, I don't have to stop in 18 places to get there. But it's good to see all of you this morning for you, this afternoon for me. And when Katie reached out and asked if I could do this, I said, yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. And what I want to do is spend some time teaching you some lessons I've learned from leading the Pivot Shift Ahead community. Now, some of you are probably members of that. Many of you aren't. We have more people active on the East Coast than West Coast just because of the timing of a lot of the stuff we do. And yet you're invited to join and participate in what we do in Pivot. I put the link in the chat just a moment ago. And it's easy to find. You go to Facebook, y'all have a Facebook. You go to Facebook, you type Pivot Shift Ahead, it'll pop right up. There are 122,000 members of that group. So if you're not in there, what is your problem? Are you so smart you don't need ideas and you don't need to mastermind and don't need help? I'm just playing with you. But we would love to see you in there. Here's how it came about. So I'll explain the story in a minute. But I built the group as a place for us to connect and mastermind and strategize and grow. And the key part of the group that's so important is our free daily morning mastermind call. I've literally done it basically every weekday for 5 years, and you're invited to join. Now, I understand it's going to be early for you because it's at 8 o'clock Eastern, and I understand how clocks and time zones work, and that's 5 o'clock in the morning your time. James, why can't you do the call later? Because it's convenient for me at 8 o'clock Eastern. So that's when we do it. But don't worry, you can join us at 5 o'clock Pacific time. We have lots of people actually on the West Coast who do. I just ask that if you're not dressed, keep your camera off. We've had 7 naked people on our call over the 5 years. So just keep your camera off. It's fine. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
that's
totally
where you
okay.
get your peep show.
What's that? Oh, I thought someone was saying something. But anywho, so we have had that. The other option is you can watch the recording. We post all the recordings in the Facebook group, in the featured section. And what a lot of our people do on the West Coast is they go in and schedule an appointment. Like they go in at 8 o'clock Pacific and say, watch the pivot call. And you can put it on as background, treat it like you would a podcast. You don't have to necessarily sit and watch it, but you could just go in the Facebook group, go to the featured section, click it and let it roll. And it's a 20-minute mastermind and conversation where I'm teaching from Shift or MREA or some other book, and then we're hearing thoughts of agents from around the country. So you're welcome to participate in that. So what we're going to cover today are some things that I have learned from that community and leading it over the last 5 years. And I just want to start with one of my favorite movies of all time. Now, the truth is that, Katie, you were probably born after this movie came out, which is Back to the Future. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Put in the chat if you like Back to the Future. It came out in 1985. And it's a great movie. But in fact, my daughter, who is going to be 13 in March, she just discovered it. And the first one's the best one. She likes it. But Back to the Future is a great movie, right? It's Doc Brown goes and builds this time machine out of a DeLorean, and they go back and do different things. It's really fun. My wife, actually, I made fun of her because on Monday, she wore like this same, I call it her life preserver that Marty McFly is wearing, like the little vest, the little puffy vest. And I called her Marty McFly. She didn't like that very much, but it's the same color. It's the same vest. But if you go back and you put in, just put in the date, right? So today, the green line, January 8th, 2025, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning, your time. And I want you to punch it in your DeLorean and go back 5 years to January 8th, 2020 at about this time. And think about where you were and what you were doing then. Do you know we hadn't even had the first official COVID case in the US yet? That didn't happen until January 20th in Washington State, out by you guys. But this is still pre-COVID, technically. But put in there, what were you doing back then? I'm real curious. What were you doing back 5 years ago? And how far have you come? Do you know we've experienced in that short amount of time one of the fastest real estate markets in the history of the industry? with the second best year of home sales in history, followed by what the second largest fall off in home sales year over year, and now some of the lowest home sales we've experienced since the 90s. So we've come a long way in a short amount of time. And so what we're going to do is give you some of the lessons from that. We're going to that March 16, 2020, when I started Pivot Shift Ahead and we did the call. And so I would just love it if you joined the community. It's free for you. Again, you can watch the recordings and access stuff. But I think there are some things that I've learned in this 5 years. If you rewind 5 years, I was still on the road coaching Bold. That was my main job. And I had a couple of sold out Bolds ready to go in March that got basically pulled. And then I haven't been back on the road for Bold since then because I started the Facebook group and it became kind of my full-time gig. You know, but in leading that group, I think I've learned the secret to succeeding in this industry. And I just want to give it to you. And it's 2 very simple words. You might, well, I don't know, it's only 2 words, so you probably don't have to write them down. But if you are taking notes, you could. But I think you can probably remember just 2 words. I think these 2 words are the key to success in this industry, and it's be boring. Like kind of like my presentation's been so far, but I want you to be boring. I just want you to every day kind of be like a repeat of the day before in the key things that matter. And we're going to unpack some of those lessons right now. So what you're going to see are different posts that I've put in Pivot Shift Ahead based on stuff I've learned from you on the calls. And you might jot some of these down. And we'll unpack them a little bit. But the first one is the market is irrelevant. Go to work. See, if you're really boring, you get that. You get that the market's irrelevant and you just need to go to work. Now, earlier I told you that we've had kind of the tale of 2 markets within this 5-year time frame, right? We had a super hot market where, I mean, were you guys getting like multiple offers on every listing and then looking around and going, I cannot believe they're getting that for that? You know, that's what 2021 was like for a lot of people. And that may still be the case for some of you. You might still be experiencing that. But most of the country isn't experiencing that anymore. Now I don't know, we'll get the final numbers here soon, but what, did we sell 4 million homes in the United States last year? 8 million sides, where 3 years ago it was over 6 million? And yet the truth is the market is irrelevant to your success. Do me a favor, Katie, I don't know if they get active in the chat, and Jordan and Leslie, I don't know if they get active in the chat, but I want you to put in the chat box, how many homes do you hope to sell in 2025? Put the number of homes, not the GCI or the volume, but the actual number of units. So there's 60 for Aubrey, and Mary says 12, and Eleanor 16, and 24, and 20, and 30, and 12, and 22. These are all great numbers, 8, and 20, and 25. And I don't have judgment around the number. The number is your number. I don't really care what number you pick. Hopefully it's based on something. You didn't just make it up, that you went and figured out how much income you want to make for your family to fund your life, and then that's what dictated the number 48 and 30, and those are all great numbers. You know what's great about that? The number of homes you hope to sell this year, there'll probably be that number of closings today in your market. Like if you truly stop and think about it, your whole goal for the year will likely happen within your market today, and then again tomorrow, and then again the day after that. So it's not the market. The market means nothing. It's irrelevant to the individual real estate agent. It's going to impact a market center. Katie, I'm sure if you pull your well, I think you said in yours that you guys did better this year than last. Is that right, Katie? Yeah, she's nodding her head. That's not the case for everybody. KWRI, Keller Williams as a whole, sold fewer homes last year than it did the year before. And the industry sold fewer homes last year than it did before. But that doesn't mean that you have to sell fewer homes than you did before. As I've heard Jason Abrams say that just because there's less opportunity doesn't mean the opportunity is less, that you have enough opportunity to hit your goal if you do the right things. Well, what are the right things? Well, I'd say the first right thing is chillax, y'all. Just relax. Just bring it down a notch. And let's choose to put our focus on things that we can control. You know, in this industry, we get wound up and excitable about things that are outside of our control all the time. Have you ever seen that? There are other Facebook groups out there besides Pivot Shift Ahead, believe it or not, that you're probably a part of. I don't want to call any of them out, but like Lab Coats. And then there's other ones and people get so excited about stuff they don't have any control over. You know, what was interesting was over the summer. Do you remember all this with the National Association of Realtors, NAR, and the settlement about the buyer commissions and the MLS and the co-op agent and all? Do you remember all that stuff? And boy, there were people that were wound up about it. I mean, they were saying that, in fact, some of you still are. You know, if the first thing you text the listing agent is how much is a buyer agency commission, if that's the first thing you text them, you need to get your priorities in order. Like you're not running a business. You care about money, not people. But most of you care about people, so you figured it out. But man, do people get wound up about it. And so one day, this is true story, I was sitting in the dance parking lot, because that's what I do now. I'm either in my office or in the dance parking lot, because my 12-year-old is, I don't know, in 14 dance classes a week or something like that. And so I'm over in the dance class parking lot on a Saturday waiting for her to finish up dance. And I was doing, have you ever done this where you scroll on your Facegram? And I was scrolling and I saw in another page all these people complaining about this NAR settlement business. And so then I opened up my Facebook group. This is the great part about having your own Facebook group. You can say whatever you want in it. And I opened my own Facebook group and I put this in there, and boy, did it get people wound up. If some of you were as obsessed about talking to your database as you are this NAR settlement, you'd have a massively successful business. This is my little way of saying, dial it back and focus on the things you can control. You know, there is all sorts of stuff that you cannot control in this business. But if you choose to focus in on the things you can, that you say, you know what, I'm going to go all in on my database. I'm going to make sure I'm reaching out to my people. I'm going to know how many contacts I need to make in a day, and I'm going to make them. I'm going to figure out what needs to happen and just focus on that. Endless opportunity will come your way, which leads to the next thing. And this is something I'm really proud of inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, is that I think if you desire success in your business, then you need to learn the plays and then run the plays. It's that simple. Success in this business isn't that difficult as long as you know what it is that you're supposed to do. You have to learn the plays and then run the plays. Now, the challenge is most of you are great at learning plays, but not so great at running them. You're addicted to education. You're allergic to implementation. This is about learning and running the plays. So figure out what works and go do it. Do what you're supposed to do. What I'm proud of inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, and Katie also mentioned the Inspire Collective. That's my private mastermind that many of you would like. Aubrey, you should be in that. I don't understand why you aren't. We'll talk about that later. But there is so much good in there about learning strategies and plays and systems that work. And we put together playbooks and best practices and all these things to help you run these tools. But if you just implement 2 or 3 strategies, I'm telling you, immense opportunity will come your way. But the challenge that we run into is we get hyper-focused on the wrong thing. This is an industry that is unnecessarily competitive, where we go and compare ourselves to others and we don't even need to, we aren't even trying to do what they're doing. Like some of you looked at the slides that Katie put up and about the people who took all these listings in the 4th quarter, and you're like, oh my gosh, 22? I haven't even taken 22 in my career. Well, that's fine. You're running a different business than that person. So you don't need to take 22. But I want us to quit getting so wound up about the result of things and instead get wound up about how we show up daily. And so that's when I put this in there. I said, we often overvalue the goal and undervalue the process. Forget about the goal and focus on the process. We often overvalue the goal and undervalue the process. Forget about the goal and focus on the process. Now, the idea for that comes from this book right here. This is by my friend Brad Stulberg. I would highly recommend it. It's called The Practice of Groundedness. It's a great book. So if you like books, pick it up. It's a little academic. Brad is a nerd, so it's a little academic. He also could beat you up. The guy is like his arms are like the size of my head. But the practice of groundedness is absolutely fantastic. And in the practice of groundedness, Brad talks about how to create a process mindset. It's page 107 for those of you keeping score at home. Let me share my screen. Katie, look, this is the old school way of sharing your screen. So this is page 107, where Brad talks about how to create a process mindset. And here's what he says. He says, step one is you set a goal, which I think you all have done. I asked you earlier to put in the chat, what's your goal for how many homes you want to sell this year? And so you've all put numbers in, and that's great. He says, though, step two is figure out the steps required to reach the goal. Like, take that pause for a minute and go, what's got to happen in order for me to do 25 homes now, or 24 or 36 or 100 or whatever your goal is. Now in Keller Williams, we've got models for that, right? We've got the economic model out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. We've got different pieces that can help you figure that out. But and that'll take you, and it'll say, hey, you want to do 36 units. Well, you need to go on 4 listing appointments a month. But the problem is that many of you stop there. You don't take it any deeper. And what I want you to do is figure out, what do you need to do daily? By the way, the number for 36 transactions, if you do the math based on number of contacts it takes to have a closing and roughly 220 work days a year, stuff like that, it's 14 contacts a day average. 14 contacts a day average would get you in the neighborhood of 36 transactions a year. Now that would be, though, if you had started your daily contacts back in October. So if you haven't averaged 14 contacts a day since October 1st, and you're going to start it today, then your new number is 19. You need 19 contacts a day. That's the legit math. I'm not making that up. I've done the math formula on that. It's 19 contacts a day on average will get you 3 deals a month, give or take. So, but that's his steps, right? Set a goal, which I just told you. Then number 2 is figure out the steps required to reach the goal, which I just told you. But step 3 is the big one. Forget about the goal and focus on the steps. Wake up every day and just go. What's going to put me in the best position to get my 19 contacts a day? Is it DTD2 calls to my database? Is it I'm going to do this open house and I know 19 groups are going to come into that? Is it I'm door knocking in my farm today? I don't really care what it is. There's no perfect strategy, but you figure out what your strategies are and then go run them. And then number 4, he says, if you find that you are obsessing over the goal, which we usually do when we are behind, then ask, what should I be doing right now? That gets you back into this process mindset. So I would recommend you pick up The Practice of Groundedness. It's a great book by Brad Stulberg. And see, in that, again, you figured out your goal, you figured out the steps, now you've put your focus on the steps, and you're no longer undervaluing the process. You've actually put immense value on the process, and you know your process is 19 a day. But then the question becomes, well, what should I do? What are the right ways to make sure I get my contacts a day? And that leads to the next lesson that I've learned from being inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, and it's this: there's more than one way. Do what works for you. See, the challenge we have, Katie, I know you get calls from your group because you've got one of the larger groups inside of KW. It's extremely well respected. You guys do so much good stuff for your agents that you always have people saying, can I come teach this class in your office? And I'm going to teach them, 17 ways to take 84 listings in the next 10 minutes. And that's totally great, but that strategy worked for that person. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. So you've got to learn multiple ways so that you can do what works for you. And that's, by the way, what we do inside of Pivot Shift Ahead. Like every mastermind call is a strategy that's worked for someone. Inside the Inspire Collective, which is my private mastermind, which, by the way, that meets Tuesdays at noon Eastern. So what is that, 9 o'clock your time? And we're always learning stuff. Like Hal Elrod, are you familiar with him? He wrote The Miracle Morning. He was our guest yesterday and did this whole setting up for the miracle year for our Inspire members. It was great. And then the next week we'll do something else. Like we're always learning strategies so that you can figure out what works for you. There is more than one way. Be careful when someone comes and says, buy my system. They're selling that system because it worked for them, but it may not work for you. I'd rather you go learn multiple systems. All right, couple of more lessons, and I hope this is of some value to you. Put an emoji in the chat that describes the value you've gotten out of this so far, and hopefully it's not like a sick emoji. Hopefully it's not, but I hope you're getting some value. But let me teach you another lesson. It's this one right here. It's the little choices that we make daily that have the largest impact on our lives. Get consistent at the small things, and your world will expand in a big way. You know what I think about with that one? I think about DTD2 as a system. Y'all familiar with DTD2? Steve Schluter invented it. It's dividing your database into last name letter groups, two letters a week. So like I think this week is A and W, and next week is B and E, and it's organized by last name so that you have roughly the same number of people to reach out to every week. And yet just the decision to follow that system, that's a small decision. And the decision on each day to get up and call the letters you're supposed to call is a small decision. That has a big impact on your results. So focus on the small things every day, which kind of leads to another one. I really like this one right here. It's intensity makes a good story and consistency makes progress. Intensity makes a good story. Excuse me, I just burped. That was kind of rude. Sorry about that, y'all. Woof, that was crazy. Intensity makes a good story. Consistency makes progress. Let's talk about that. Y'all heard about the 75 hard? Anybody done 75 hard up in here? The thing that I struggle with all of those like intense exercise things is that every time someone posts a progress picture, they do it with their phone like this. How am I supposed to know that's you if your phone is covering your face? How am I supposed to know it's you and not somebody else? It just drives me nuts. But I was talking to a friend of mine who did the 75 hard. 75 hard is this like 75 consecutive days, this very intense like exercise and mindset and diet routine where you've got to do exercise twice a day for 45 minutes. One has to be outside. You're supposed to read like for 10 minutes a day, do some journaling, I think. You're supposed to pick some sort of diet and stay on it. No alcohol, drink like 8 gallons of water. I don't know what all the things are, and I talked to a friend of mine who did it. I said, how are the results? He said, well, my wife said that when I finished the 75 hard, she said that was like an amazing six-pack. She was so impressed by my six-pack. I said, well, what's happened to it since the 75 hard ended? He says, now it's more like a mini keg. And that's the challenge with things that are intense. They will work for bursts, but then you go back to the way you were. Being boring is recognizing that consistency is what makes progress. That you're just every day going to wake up and do your 19 contacts or send out your whatevers, whatever your plan is, and that you just wake up and do that. That's the lesson. And so that takes me to the last slide in this. And then I'm going to open it up for anybody who has some thoughts or questions, which is this: go be boring. Go be boring because it's the best method to reach your goals. That's it. Now, if you want to stay updated on the stuff that we do inside of Pivot, or you're interested in Inspire, go scan the QR code. It'll take you to the email or to the link on the screen, bestpractices.jamesdshaw.com. I'll put it in the chat too in just a minute. But if you do that, you'll get added to our newsletter list. So on Sundays, you'll get the newsletter from us. It'll recap all of the Pivot calls for the week. We do a keynote every Wednesday inside of there. Aubrey's been one of those. We do a keynote inside of there that we will send you. We'll tell you what's coming up in Pivot. We'll send you some various best practices, things like that. So you're welcome to it's a Google form. You're going to fill out a little Google form and we'll add you to the email list of that. And I'll put some other links in the chat. But I just think that if we can make it simple, and narrow our focus into the couple of things that matter, I think you're going to win at a high level. I hope this was helpful. Maybe you have an aha or a question or a takeaway, and I would love to hear it. I'm going to drop the links for the best practices. That's where you get the best practices right there. Is that link I just put in the chat. And then if you want to connect on the socials, this is my Instagram, James D. Shaw. But I would just make this suggestion to you that this year, narrow your focus on the things that matter. Don't worry about doing everything. Narrow on the things that matter and try to get in a rhythm. And recognize that you will not be perfect every day. Today in Pivot Shift Ahead, I read from one of my favorite books of all time. It's called Finish by a guy named John Acuff. This dude is legit. It's one of my favorite authors in the history of Earth. And he wrote in here, it's on page 11, if you're curious. Now that I'm 47, I have to take off my glasses to read. Or it starts on page 12. On page 12, he says, imperfection is fast, and when it arrives, we usually quit. Does that happen to you? Did anybody have like big hopes and dreams for this year, and here it is 8 days into the year and they're all gone, right? You were going to do all these things this year, and now 8 days, poof in the night. But he says imperfection is fast, and when it arrives, we quit. And he says the day after perfect is the make or break day for any goal, right? This is the day after you skip the jog. This is the day after you failed to get up early. This is the day after you decided that the serving size for a box of Krispy Kreme donuts is 1 box. Like, this is the day after all of that is the make or break day. He says the day after perfect is what separates finishers from starters. You will not be perfect. But do you know what's even more important than perfection? Do you know what will serve you far longer than perfectionism ever could? Moving forward imperfectly. Reject the idea that the day after perfect means you have failed. So if you're doing your push-up challenge and you didn't do your push-ups yet today, we'll do them tomorrow, dang it. Get over yourself. That's it, Katie. I hope this is of value. I would love to hear some thoughts and takeaways and ahas, but those are some key lessons I've learned inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, and I hope it's helpful. But what do y'all got? What's on your mind? If you had awkward silence on the bingo card, you can circle it now. If you're playing Zoom bingo and had awkward silence, scratch that one off. It should be the free space in the middle. We always have that. But I would love to hear what's on your mind, either a takeaway from what we just covered or a question you have that you want to ponder. What's on your mind, friends? Katie, did you have something? You came off mute.
Well, the idea of be boring, like, I think it's natural for us to want to do something new or exciting or change it when it doesn't work. And I want your thoughts on this. Like, maybe we could go find that in another area of our lives. Like, don't be boring in everything, like get your excitement somewhere. But specifically, you're talking about be boring around the activities that matter, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's only a handful of things. I mean, I think if you look at it, the first would be you are not going to succeed in this business if you don't talk to people, period. You're going to have to communicate with people. And the reason why you don't have the number of sales you'd like to have is because you don't have enough appointments. And the reason why you don't have enough appointments is because you simply haven't talked to enough people. Like, it isn't the market, it isn't interest rates, it isn't that the fact that sellers live in homes that have 2% interest and now they're going to pay 7% if they sell. It's none of those things. What it is simply you aren't talking to enough people. And so I want you to get boring in the fact that you figure out how many contacts is it a day. And when I say that, I'm not meaning you cold call or you make phone calls. I don't care how you contact people. You literally could put on a pair of khakis and a red polo and go walk around Target. Like, you would talk to people. They would come up and go, where are the paper towels? And you'd be like, I don't know, but who do you know from church or work that wants to buy a home or sell a home? Like, whatever you want to do would work. I don't care how you do it, but figure out what your number is of how many people you need to average daily and go do that. Now, the challenge is that not every day is a pink fluffy unicorn dancing on a rainbow. Like, you're not going to get your target number of contacts every day. So then what do you have in place to get you back on track for that? That's a question. We do something called the 5 p.m. protocol. I teach this inside of the Inspire Collective and in Pivot, which is a set of predetermined action steps that if you didn't get your contacts in any given day, that at 5 p.m., it's a 20-minute thing. You could sit down. And watch the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix, which is so good, by the way. Like, they should not have thrown her in jail. That was ridiculous. But you sit down on the couch and you watch the Martha Stewart documentary, and then you scroll your Facebook, but instead of being a lazy liker, if somebody posts something, you send them a private message and say, hey, oh my gosh, I saw that, Junior graduated from high school. I knew it was iffy for a while. I'm so proud of him. What's next? But you do that, 10 times. Like you figure out what's something that's going to get a little momentum going. And that's part of this piece. Get really boring in what your strategy is, but know that you won't hit it every day. And so then have something you do that creates a little bit of momentum for you. Yeah, that was my thought there.
I like the contingency plan.
Yeah, well, you should have one because not every day is going to be perfect. And then that's when we bail. Well, I haven't made any contacts this week. I'll just start fresh on Monday. No, you will start fresh right now. You
So
will
James,
get after it now. Quit sitting around and waiting for something to shift. You know, if you count on the market to give you business when it's really good, you have to count on the market to take it away when it's really bad. If you are going to succeed, it's about how you show up on a day-to-day basis. And I just want you to win more days than you lose. That's all.
I just wanted to say, James, that
Your hair looks great, Aubrey.
thank you. It dried curly. And now I'm actually on my way to 2 listing appointments to take my fair share of the market.
Good for you.
So I'm in the car, I apologize. But I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that you are like always real talk and tough love. And this thing that you're talking about right now about like, stop complaining about it, stop talking about the market, stop talking about the NAR settlement. You've been saying that since day one. Just go do the work. Like, just go do the work. Like, stop complaining and belly aching, and how you deal with 144,000 agents who tend to complain a lot about a lot of things. You just give them the smackdown, and the East Coast in me appreciates the East Coast in you.
Oh, well, listen, I don't discount the fact that this market is harder than the market a couple of years ago. It definitely is harder. I don't want anyone to think that I'm just making it sound like it's overly easy. But just because it's harder doesn't mean you can't succeed in it at the same time. The path changes. You know, it's like if I were in Portland and I wanted to go to Seattle, what interstate would I take to get from Portland to Seattle? Would I take what, 5? Okay, yeah. So if I'm in Portland and I want to go to Seattle, let's say I was teaching in Portland and I needed to get to Seattle, and you know what? The planes were canceled and the trains were canceled, and the only way I could get there was to rent a car and drive. I don't know how long that would take me, but it sounds like probably almost forever. And I loaded up my rental car and I called the people in Seattle and I said, all right, I just finished up in Portland. Everything's been canceled. I'm loading up the car. I got all my stuff and I'm going to head your way. I'm going to go get on the 5 and I'm going to drive south and I'll be there in a few hours. All right. So no worries. I'm heading south on I-5 and I'll be there soon. And they're all going to say, what? No. That's not how you get there. And I'm go, yeah, I'm good. I got my stuff. I got my computer. I checked. I got my adapter to plug into the projector. I've got my manual. I got a rental car. I'm going south on I-5. I'll get there. And they'll go, no, it's not going to work because you're going the wrong way. And that's where I would say, oh yeah, that's right. It's direction, not intention, that determines destination. Like if I can intend to get to Seattle all day, but if I'm going the wrong direction on the interstate, I'm never going to get there. You have to make the decision to move in the direction that you intend. Now, a lot of you have willings and wants that don't align. You have things that you want that are up here, but things that you're willing to do that are down here, and there's a gap. And you've got to get the willings and the wants to be equal. And the way you do that is you either raise what you're willing to do or you'll lower what you want to have happen. Those are the only options. But it's not the market's fault that your business sucked last year. It's the go back and investigate and ask, this is a good question to ask. What am I doing that if I stopped doing would have zero impact on my business? If you go and ask that question and figure out what am I doing that if I stopped doing it would have no impact on my business, and you make a list of those things and then you stop doing them. And then you ask, what am I not doing that if I started doing would have a massive impact on my business? And then start doing those. In fact, put it in the chat. What are you currently not doing that if you started doing would have a massive impact on your business? Put it in the chat right now. Put it in the chat. I want to see answers. Put it in the chat. What are you not doing that if you started doing would have a dramatic impact on your business? Door knocking. So Alex says door knocking. So if Alex's number, see, this is so cute. This is so cute. Lead gen 3 hours a day. I mean, you're not going to have any business if you don't lead gen, right? Daily calls, not going to have business. Wake up early. I love all this stuff. You got to figure out what to do. And then what I would recommend you do is go get out your Shift book and go to page 54 to 57 of Shift. This is the exercise where you figure out what strategies work for you and double down on the ones that work. Yeah, that would be the answer. Thank you, Aubrey. I appreciate you. Go take the listings. Anybody else? What's on your mind from what we talked about? Do you have a question? Do you have something that's got you wound up? Yeah, Cindy needs to talk to 19 people. There you go. What's on your mind?
We have a ton of ahas in the
What are
chat.
they, Leslie?
We've got, oh my gosh, they go back and back. I want to say thank you, shout out. Let me see. We've got some Carol, thank you for sharing your mantra for the year. She said, along obedience in the same direction is her mantra. I also want to say, you guys, if you have a question.
That's really smart. Hold on, time out. That's really smart because that means she has clarity about where she wants to go and where she is and understands the path she's got to be on to get there. So that's really smart. I'm sorry, Leslie, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you guys, if you want to share like a big aha, raise your hand. We still have some time left in this call. So we would love to hear from you. Unmute yourself. Or if you have a question, drop it in the chat. Like we've got a ton of ahas in here. Eric said, pick up a hobby or something to explore rather than exploring constantly in your business. Tons of things that that would make massive change. Oh, yes. Or yes, raise your digital hand. Jordan, help me watch for digital hand raises. I wanted to say, one of the things as we're seeing those things that would make those massive changes, the two things that I wrote down, James, were like what we started with. And the thing that you kind of were wrapping up with was like the chillax, focus on what we control.
Yeah.
And then what you said at the end, which I absolutely love, which was, what is more important than perfection is moving forward imperfectly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like that success is sequential, not simultaneous.
Yep.
Same concept, like we're getting better every day, especially as we're like embarking on something new in our business.
Straight out of the one thing, right? That's straight out of the one thing. And I think that some of us are in this like perfectionism trap where we want to make sure we have everything all figured out. In Shift, Gary talks about there's two types of people, right? You have the study first person and you have the implement first person. And he said both of them come with issues, right? The study first person studies so much that they never go implement. And the implement first person doesn't take enough time to study that they make a lot of mistakes. He says, here's what he would recommend. He says, first, if you're a study first person, limit your amount of study before you're going to go take action, right? You're going to, all right, I'm only going to prepare for 15 minutes. And then when that timer goes off, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. If you're an action first person, then you need to commit to a period of study before you take action. And getting into action won't be a problem for you, but you'd likely get better results if you slowed down a little bit. I tend to be someone that moves quickly, and that causes me to make a lot of mistakes. If you get my emails, they constantly have typos because I type them out and then I send them. And then I read them after they've been sent and I go, oh, whoops, that was a mistake. Sometimes I leave out a letter in the word shift when I send out emails, and it's a problem, right? But that's just because I just want to get stuff out quickly. So I think you've got to commit to a period of study. But what I would guess is there are more study first people on this call than action first people on this call. And if you're a study first person on this call, you've got to set a limit because you cannot possibly know it all. It will not be perfect. You are an imperfect person working in an imperfect business, and you'll get imperfect results. And I would rather that you understand that and move forward inside of that than try to get everything right all the time. And the bottom line is this. I think if you can go and figure out what needs to happen daily on average in your business in order for you to succeed, and then you narrow it to that, you'll be in good shape. Inside of the Inspire Collective, again, that's my private mastermind. It's $99 a month. We meet every Tuesday at noon Eastern. One thing we created in our fall challenge, we did a fall forward challenge, was a point system. And we said that we just want you to go get 30 points every single day. And we assign point values to all of these different things. It's a full spreadsheet and checklist, and said, just go get 30 points, however you want to get it. And the closer you get to 30 points every day, the more likely you are to reach your goal. And it's working for a lot of people. Most of them are still using that system. So go create something like that and let it help you out. All right, we got probably time for one more thing before I got to kick it. It's past lunchtime over here. I don't know why you people are, so far behind me. It's really kind of weird.
Looks like Kaylee had something in the chat. She said, raise what you are willing to do or expect less of what you wanted to have. She said, not sure how you ended that phrase, but can you repeat it?
Yeah, it's about willings and wants. This comes from Jordan Freed, right? He taught this to me when he was my coach for a long time. But it's do your willings and your wants, are they in alignment with each other? Most people have these desires and wants in their business. This is, I want to sell, 60 homes. I want to make X amount of money. I want to go on this many vacations. But their willings, the stuff that they're willing to do, is down here. They're not in alignment, and there is this gap. And so if that's the world you're in, which by the way is most people, in fact, it's every person in something, right? In some sort of journey you're on. Maybe it's your health, or maybe it's in a key relationship or something. Your willings and your wants are not in alignment, which is why you're not reaching them. I know exactly where it is for me in my world, where my willings and wants are out of alignment. And so we all have it. All of us have a spot where our want is up here and our willings are down here. Well, the only way to make it happen is to either bring down the want to equal what it is you're willing to do, right? Or raise up what you're willing to do to get the outcome you want. It's interesting because, Jordan, I get calls from people all the time that say, James, I just love what you created. In fact, I had a guy call me yesterday about this. I love what you've done inside of Pivot Shift Ahead, and now I've built this private mastermind, and we do 2 in-person events a year. I mean, I've got 4 employees. We provide health insurance. We've got a legit business over here. And he says, I want to do that too. And he says, how do I do it? And I said, well, I would do 5 years of daily free content. Well, I don't have 5 years to wait to be able to pull that off. Okay, well, then you can't do what I did. The reason that we have the business we have now is because I worked hard for free for 5 years, every day. You want to talk about consistency? Every work weekday for 5 years, I've gotten up and done this mastermind call. And I can trace everything that's happened in my business world back to the decision to get up every day and do that mastermind call every single day. So figure out what that is for you. Okay, we're out of time. I love all of you. I love your group. I wish you were closer to my house. But again, if I can help you with something, that's my Instagram, James D. Shaw. My cell phone number is 813-523-8459. Do you know it spells ugly? My cell phone number is 813-523-UGLY. Did you know that? So that's my cell phone. You can always text me. My email address is james.shaw@kw.com. And if you want information about what we're doing in Pivot and Inspire, jamesdshaw.com is where you go there. Thank you. I appreciate all of you. Be well. Have a great whatever today is. See ya.
Thanks, James. Okay, you guys, for all of those that were writing down all those notes or didn't capture all those links, remember that we will include all of this in our usual wrap-up email so that you have all the links and connections to those Facebook pages, all the links to the resources and events that are coming up, the 66-day challenge, and all of those things. However, one thing that Katie did say was we have an incredible lineup of speakers already set up for this year's State of the Industry. We have promised to bring you the very best to keep you on the forefront. So our goal is to announce next month's speaker at the end of every State of the Industry. So for those of you who have stayed to the end, you get the early notice of our big speaker for February. So back by popular demand, one of our past Master Series event speakers, a lady who has had an incredible career. She is the vice president of Lever and the agent platform of Movoto. She was the founder of what was formerly known as the Lead Syndicate. She has been a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a mentor, an influencer, a KW leader for years and years and years. She's one of the most enthusiastic, inspirational women in our ecosystem. We are so excited to welcome to our second State of the Industry for 2025, the incredible Nikki Miller. So make sure that you get the February State of the Industry on your calendar because you are not going to want to miss her. She is absolutely awesome. So that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you for joining us for our very first State of the Industry. We appreciate you all, and let's go hit our goals for 2025. Thank you guys.
Thank you.